Excerpts from A History of Monsters, written by Ixomiok Karathema Ilan Tavron, Master of Natural Philosophy at the Tsothetskonas in the 14th year of the reign of Peothitschke. Of such great beasts that are spoken of in the tales that come to us from the ancient days of the world, certainly the most renowned must be the Sāhrok, which remains an icon of power, ferocity, and terror not only in Therea and its neighbouring lands, but even in those far distant realms across the sea and beyond the Plateau of the Sun, which none save a scarce few intrepid navigators and wayfarers have yet beheld. Too numerous are the legends of the Sāhrok to be each recounted in full, but here I shall endeavour to set down as much lore concerning such a storied beast as can be contained within a single work. Throughout the countless tales that tell of them, Sāhroks are known by many forms, and descriptions of them vary greatly both by region and by age, but their most common image is typified by the engraving upon the red stele at Ostenok, a four-footed beast at once as swift as a kentse and as strong and steadfast as a ground sloth, with great forelegs bearing enormous claws like reaping blades. Its head is crowned with 6 horns of many tines, and its countenance bears a hooked beak as of a carrion bird or perhaps a turtle, whence thrust great fangs or tusks, and its hide is bare of fur or feathers save for a great mane of bristles or barbs about its neck and shoulders. There is a poison borne upon its breath and in its blood, which withers all things in its presence, and a great reek goes before it. Upon the red stele, this image appears in depiction of the form taken by Thontoricum, the progenitor of monsters, and beside it is inscribed the legend of Thontoricum as it is most widely known, the most part of which concerns the battle waged against it by the gods, after which it was driven into the dark lands beyond the mountains where it would make its lair, and thus establish the realm of Kothkilon, the breeding place of monsters. For in that place Thontoricum's poison seeped into the stones and waters, and the lands about were made tainted and perilous, and the forests became rotted and withered into tangled and twisted thickets, and light and life perished, and many foul and evil things stirred in the shadows. The red stele also names many of the monsters that arose from the brood of Thontoricum, not only those Sāhroks that appear in later tales, but numerous other wicked beasts, such as the Minaxe, the harbingers of pestilence, the painted lizards that stalk the ginkgo groves, and another race of creatures that the stele names Ichfeikan, those that dwell in the narrow places, but naught is now known of these beings, for no other tale tells of them. But it is said that Thontoricum still lives, and that at the end of days it will emerge from Kothkilon to devour the sun and bring about an age of darkness. In the lands of everlasting light, the Tsanoranan tell much the same legends, though they most often name the beast Karkhumul, which in their tongue signifies the gnawer of bones, for it is said to feed upon the corpses of those who are denied entry to the halls of the dead and are banished to Kothkilon, though whereas most Ankotskan theologians place Kothkilon within the shadowed lands beyond the Palachkoa mountains, the Tsanoranan speak of the Karkhumul's lair, which they call Kugoskol, as existing within a great cavern beneath the Plateau of the Sun, which the Karkhumul is said to have delved into the earth upon being driven from the plateau's summit. The Tsanoranan hold the Karkhumul to be the embodiment of savagery and destruction, and a symbol of blasphemy and defiance against the Empire. The priesthood of the Sun is quick to name those who oppose its precepts as worshippers of the Karkhumul, a charge under which many have been put to death. Indeed, so great is their fear and hatred of the beast that its very name can be invoked as a curse or insult. To call another Karkhumlatsk, the spawn of the Karkhumul, is to declare them as having a cruel or evil nature. Among those scattered peoples who yet dwell in the remote reaches of Tsanura, where the Empire, of whom they are no kin, has yet to fully establish its dominion, there are those who speak also of the Sāhrok, the outlanders who make their dwellings by the shores of the Eretosque and who know well the paths of the forest, having long since been driven from their ancient homeland in the sunward jungles, speak of twisted beasts with skin of stone that stalk the darkness of the deep woods, and in the desolate lands beyond the river Artiso dwell a hardy folk of black hair and dappled skin, who tell of lesser Sāhroks that make their abodes within the rocky crags and canyons to assail wayward travellers. Tale of the Sāhrok, or perhaps of another creature of the same kindred, comes also from Nothukva. Since the days before the alliance of Ankutska and Atsvan, mariners and merchants returning from voyages to the outer sea have brought back stories of the Shi'ugqorji, or, as it is uttered in the cumbrous tongue of the Nothukvanan, the Shi'ugqorji, that which rends flesh with its jaws, a beast said to dwell within the frigid waters about the islands of such size and strength that it might break open the hulls of ships and devour their crews. As a beast of the water, the Shi'ugqorji's form is more like to the seal than to the Kensei, of the large and fearsome sort that dwells in the fens and marshes near the mouths of the Teptilas. The Shi'ugqorji's hide is covered in the scales of a fish, and like the armorfish or sea scorpion, it is clad in many plates of bone. Its maw is ringed with multitudinous fangs as of those of the Lamprey, or perhaps the fish of grotesque aspect that are at times found tangled in the nets of Nothukvan fishermen. The Nothukvanan seldom speak of the Shi'ugqorji, for they consider it ill-boding, but most Thracian sailors speak of the beast as being a form of Sāhrok, though Nenkiropse has posited that it is rather another of the offspring of Thontorikom of which the old legends make no mention. But the Shi'ugqorji is but one of many monsters that inhabit those waters. Not only armorfish and lomori vaster by far than any in the Erythosque, but also those that the Nothukvanan name Ithraji, the water lurkers, malevolent tentacle-bearing creatures that are said to abduct unwary sailors who venture into deep waters, dragging them below the waves to dark grottos and turning them into sea creatures. These are said to dwell on the sea beyond the isles before the walls of darkness, which have thus far defied passage, being strewn with great mountains of ice and pervaded by a deadly cold. By those few who have braved the long voyage to the fabled Iskali Sea, a journey of some 3,000 veha from the Erythoscan Straits along the Tsanaran coasts, is brought back report of the Iskalinan, the grey-skinned fisher folk who rule the sea from a magnificent floating city, being more willing to travel by boat than to go on foot. The shores of the lands adjacent to this city are hidden by strange trees that grow from the seabed, the only passage inland being the mouth of a great river that is wider and of slower course than the Thiras. Of what little has been espied of these lands, much is told in the account of Rakchithare, of the rough-skinned men that make their dwellings in the high branches of the trees, of the beast-headed folk that go hunting in the pine-clad hills, and of the great wading birds that stand twice the height of a grown man. But most pertinent to the matters that concern this treatise is a form of Sāhrok that the Iskalinan name the Khaazwai. Like the Thracian Sāhrok, the Khaazwai appears as a mingling of various other beasts, for its body is sleek and supple as that of a Kensei, yet it bears the blunted jaws of an armorfish, and its long forelegs are like those of the ponderous beasts of that land that feed upon the bristlecone trees, for it goes about in like manner upon its upturned claws, while its hind legs end in cloven hooves, and from the crown of its head to the tip of its long tail runs a crest of red feathers. The Iskalinan do not deem the Khaazwai an evil creature, but rather hold it in reverence as the king of beasts, lord of the forests and of the wide lands beyond. Indeed, in Rakchithare's account, she describes a ceremony or festival where danced masked performers garbed in the likeness of various beasts, among which the Khaazwai was chief in splendour, and at its approach the onlookers lifted their voices in jubilation. To their fortune, the Iskalinan have yet to incur the wrath of the Empire of the Sun for such heretical customs, for the Empire's gaze has ever been fixed on the Erythosque, and Nakachta remains the bulwark by which their might is checked and their ambitions of wider conquests are halted. Here has been written in brief report of the Sāhrok according to tales told in realms that are known to us, but of other lands we can only speculate, for no ship has yet voyaged the Ascali Sea to its furthest extent, and of the lands adjacent wayfarers have journeyed little beyond their sunward shores, so that none might yet tell what manner of beasts stalk the wild lands afar off. Thus, those who would venture into the dark forests and the shadows of the mountains at the far reaches of the world shall do so at their peril, lest they find their demise by the teeth and claws of the spawn of Thontoricom. For more on the Sāhrok and other mythical beasts, check out the Further Thoughts video on the second channel. Thanks to all the artists on Discord who contributed artwork for this video, and thanks especially to all the patrons for their continued support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.